Joining us to go in depth on the president's interesting reaction, the chairman of ConservativeHQ.com, Richard Viguerie. Richard, as always, it's so good to have you Skyping in here on America's Forum.
My pleasure, JD. It's a happy, good week here.
It has been a good week, but there are still some clouds out there, as a lot of pundits took a look at the president yesterday and said that really wasn't a concession speech, a reconciliation speech. What do you make of the president's post-election comments?
Well, this is a man who's a hardcore ideological lefty, and he's not going to let any stinking ballots get in the way of his, fundamentally changing America. And he's got 2 years to do it, and I think he's a serious liberal. Socialist, and I think he's going to ignore the election results. My concern, JD, is that Republican leaders may do the same. It hasn't been very encouraging since the polls closed on Tuesday night. We've heard a number of Republican leaders, Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, John Boehner, talk about different issues. They want to, pass some trade legislation and other actions, but that I don't remember being on the ballot this last Tuesday. What I remember was that national security was on the ballot in the voters' mind, as well as repeal Obamacare, protect our borders, secure our borders, no amnesty. And I haven't heard the Republican leaders talk about those issues, which are the issues of importance to the conservatives. And if they ignore those issues, we're going to have a continuation of this civil war in the Republican Party.
Well, as we take a look at it, Richard, obviously you're telling us you expect the president to metaphorically just keep the pedal to the metal and continue with his leftist agenda, and you expect establishment Republicans to react in a measured, moderate, cautious fashion. And that's the source of your concern.
Yeah, absolutely. As I've said on your show here before, JD, that the Republicans never win nationally unless the elections are nationalized. In my lifetime, it's 4 elections. Now it's 5 elections. Reagan's 1980 election, 1984, the Gingrich contract with America that you were part of in 1994, and of course the great Tea Party election of 2010. Now we can add the 2014 election, but quite frankly, it didn't have a lot to do with the national Republican leaders. It had a lot to do with conservatives leaders at the national, state, and local level who reached into this vacuum left by the Republicans avoiding nationalizing election and talked about national security, repeal Obamacare, amnesty, etc. And in fact, we saw in Tillis in North Carolina, he was trailing all year long Kay Hagan, the incumbent Democrat senator there, as long as they were talking about local issues. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, he took the conservatives' advice, nationalized election around repeal Obamacare, amnesty, national security, changed everything, and he won a great victory on election night.
So in other words, and we talked earlier this week, you were concerned about that failure to nationalize the election, but I could almost hear Wednesday morning, at least in my mind's ear, that Mitch McConnell and John Boehner were saying, hey, Richard, you're wrong. We got it done. We built our majority. But you say it wasn't because of Republican leadership in Washington. It was grassroots and candidates on the ground who finally got the message.
Absolutely. This was, the Republican leaders, JD, were, AWOL in this election. And the conservative leaders stepped up at the national, state, and local level and nationalized this election. And it was, to a large extent, an anti-Obama Democrat policies for the last 6 years. You're hearing the media talk about it. Even some Republican leaders are talking about, well, the voters now send us a message. They want us to get along. They want us to compromise. They want us to work together. That's nonsense. Nothing like that happened on an election day. What the people said is that we want to undo the failed, the flawed policies of the last 6 years, which is Obamacare, overregulation of our economy, hurting our jobs. And we want us to, again, have America be an exceptional country, be the leader of the free world.
And with that in mind, Richard, I tell you what, let's leave it right there for now. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk more about an ambitious conservative agenda with Richard Viguerie.